Hey everyone, this is Chris Dunkel. In this episode, what we're going to look at is working with sound and some of the sounds that are provided by WeVideo. So as we have here, I've got a video clip that I've downloaded. This particular clip has sound with it. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add some background audio to this. And the way we're going to do is we're going to come up here to our tabs. Remember, media tabs here. The second tab is our text tab. If we come to the third tab, you'll notice a little musical note. So if we click on that, that's our audio tab. You'll notice that there's a free music folder. So if I click on one of these, it's going to play the music over here in the preview window. Now, one thing that's great with the school account is we have access to also the premium music as well. So don't forget, anytime you have folders, you can come over here and do more searches. Sound effects, for instance, there's all sorts of great sound effects that they have. There's weather sound effects, like you want a heavy rain, or maybe sea wash, or wind in the bushes kind of thing. There's nature, there's people talking in backgrounds, children whispering, all sorts of things to look at over here. The premium music has even more of kind of background music, but they categorize it. So maybe you're looking for like some sentimental music. You want something kind of sad. Let's see what Outdoor Weekend sounds like. So in order to add your music, you're going to need to drag the music down to the audio track. Okay, so I'm going to take, let's try Candlelight. And so I'm just going to drag it down here to the audio track. Now, you want to be careful where you drop it because, make sure you're having it start where you want. Now, if you misplace it, you can always drag it over to where you want, but it's usually a little more helpful to just do it at the start. So what I've done here is I've dropped my music down here. So if I click play, now we have a problem, which is really common, and we see this a lot, because oftentimes you'll film something or a student will film something and they don't intend to use the audio with what they film. So for instance, maybe they want to film something, but they want that muted, and then they're going to just add background music to what we're watching. And so here's how you deal with that in WeVideo. You got a couple options you can do. Now, one thing you can do, remember, you could come over here to the video track, pull this down and go to the third option so we can actually see the audio associated with that track. Okay. And when we do that, we have a little audio slider here, and I could drag it all the way to the left, and that's going to, in essence, mute that audio track. It's going to bring those keyframes all the way down to 0 that we talked about before. So if I hit play, hopefully you can hear that. All we're hearing now is just the background audio that I added. You don't hear any of the soundtrack from Rear Window. Now, let me move it back up to 100 or wherever. It doesn't really matter. What I'll show you is a different way you can do it. And, if you don't want to pull it down this way and do it that, remember the default looks like this. If you just double click on it or click on the pencil tool, but double click, one of your options up here, the second tab, is a volume tab. So you can do the same thing. You can change your volume here or simply come over and click the mute button. So if I do that and click done editing, it has in essence muted that track here in the video track. So again, if I hit play, all we hear is the background audio. Now with the background audio, just like the other things, you can come in here, double click, or excuse me, in this one, your audio is over here on the left. So you can control, maybe that music's too loud. You want to bump it down a little bit. Let's see if that softens it. Or maybe you need to bump it up, make it louder. Sometimes that's a necessity where you need to do that. You also have your fade options here, which we talked about before. And you can have a fade in or out or things like that. The other thing I want to show you when you're adding background audio, you'll notice that my video clip ends here, but the music track keeps on going. So one quick, easy way to do that is just to trim it. And we've talked about this before. What you want to do is click on the track. So you've got the little yellow highlight around it. Move your timeline meter to the very end of your video clip. But down here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my scissor tool that just trimmed it. I'm going to click on the second track and delete it. Now my music's going to stop basically right at the end of the video. Now, the problem is, you'll hear it just kind of stops abruptly. which didn't sound very good. So that's why we're going to want to now go in and do our fade in and fade out. You may not want to fade in, maybe 0 and fade in, but you might want it to fade out over 2 seconds. And so now at the end, the music should kind of softly fade out. And that's all there is to it. So there's some really cool audio tools that are in here. Just make sure you go to audio tab, play around with some of the sound effects that are available and the free music that's available. I highly recommend, if your students are doing projects that you're going to upload to YouTube, that you use this music that's here. If they use music that comes from another source that's potentially copyrighted, YouTube's little programs that they have to check for that kind of stuff are going to find that, and sometimes they will mute the video. So if you use this, you should be in good shape, and this way you don't have to worry about any copyright issues. The music's all right here, and you should be good to go. So hopefully that's helpful with the music. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask.